Hi, we welcome you today at this special episode of Stetoskop when we are going to discuss a little bit of studies, especially first-year studies of general medicine in English program at our university. And we have two special guests today. First, an English student, fifth year, so he is a lot experienced, Mike Fiedler.
Yeah, hi, happy to be here.
And the head of anatomy department, Dr. Joukal.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
And let's begin. So first, Mike, how did you get here? Where are you from originally?
So I'm from the United States. I'm from California, and my father, when he retired, he moved back to Slovakia. So I'm half Slovak, half Salvadorian, but I was born and raised in California. And I was once visiting him in the summer of 2016, and it seemed like a great idea to go see what Brno was all about. One of my friends, who was already studying general medicine at the time, he was in the Czech program actually. He invited me to go to a party since he just completed one of his biochemistry exams, his last one. So he was feeling pretty good, and I've never heard of the place, so I thought I'd try it out. And I really liked the nightlife. I thought that overall it was a really nice culture from what I saw from the first day. Really nice old buildings. Architecture was radically different than what's in California. And then the next day, I decided to go check out the campus with him. I really wanted to see what his university was all about. And after looking, at the long hallways, the modern architecture here, and really the overall just impressive nature of the building of campus, of the campus building, made me really want to see if I could potentially study here. And we went to the anatomy department, and I really liked the way it was set up. There was like some security measures that we had to go through with some student identification cards. I was lucky to get through. And I saw the anatomy department, and there were some students that were studying for their anatomy exam because this was in the middle of the summer. And they were looking at this preparate of a leg, and it was like a real human leg that they were looking at. And I really liked just how immersive the whole experience looked. It looked a lot better than just some theoretical based anatomy department. So I really thought, wow, this is something that I want to be a part of. Where can I sign up? So we went to the library. We looked at the international program, because even though I am fluent now in Slovak, which is similar enough of a language to Czech, at the time I really wasn't able to really articulate what I was trying to say. So for me, the Czech program was out of the question. But the English program, which is significantly more friendly of a price than in the U.S., seemed like the proper avenue to at least look into. So after some emails sent back and forth with the study department, I decided I'd give it a try. And the study department was, they were all, arms open. They were trying to help me out as much as they could. So I went in, did the entrance exam. I studied for it for a few days. Unbelievably 10 days. Luckily, I had some college courses that I was taking in the U.S. beforehand. And once I got accepted, I decided that I'm gonna cut all ties to the U.S. as far as my job. I was a personal trainer there. I had a pretty good, practically a career going for me. But I always, something in the back of my mind always said, you should be a doctor. That was always one of my dreams as a kid. So even though personal training is definitely something that I recommend for many people that want to do that, it just wasn't for me. So I always had this kind of feeling of lack. So when the opportunity arose in such a bizarre and amazing way, I decided, why not try it out? So yeah, after the entrance exam, I decided to cut off work, to cut off the studies I was doing there. I was studying at a community college. And ever since I haven't looked back, and I've just been working really hard and really enjoyed the process and the kind of the metamorphosis that my mindset and my work ethic has made since starting to study at Maastricht University.
So that sounds like a pretty pleasant coincidence, shall we say?
Yeah, fair to say.
So when you visited Brno for the first time, you already knew you wanted to study medicine eventually, or it was always your wish?
It was always my wish, but it was more like a dream than a reality, if that makes sense. It was always something that I wanted to do, but it was never really something that I thought was attainable, at least not in the U.S. with the way that it works, and with the community college that I was studying at. I mean, the amount of time and money and effort that would go into me actually becoming a doctor in the U.S. would be significantly greater than over here.
So visiting the faculty and the campus here gave you the push you needed and the opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the opportunity was there, and I took advantage of it. I just took a leap of faith, and I had a friend of mine, the friend that introduced me to the university. He really, helped me break down what the years to come should look like, and which are the important exams to study for. And in the first year, anatomy is definitely the most information to study for, so I would say it's the most time consuming.
Yeah. So first year. So what was first year like for you?
Well, that was already, my gosh, like 5 years ago. But it was really nice. It was actually my favorite year so far in med school. Maybe this year is second place or even first place, just because quarantine was pretty fun. But
well, that's an interesting opinion.
Yeah, well, it was like being on vacation, right? And occasionally studying for a credit test or whatever. But it was really enjoyable. But to go back to the first year, my friend, almost like a mentor to me, kind of guided me down the right path to take, at least in the first year. So he said he struggled with it a lot, and he was studying day in, day out on the bus and everything during lunch. And so I tried to kind of mirror that approach. And so as much as I could, I was studying anatomy throughout the semester, throughout the winter break. While studying for other exams, I was also in the back of my mind sometimes revising anatomy or looking at various smaller chapters that I could revise briefly during the morning or in the evening, or also on the bus ride like my friend. So he had such a hard time, and he did it in 3 semesters. And my year was the first year that they decided to change anatomy to make it a 2-semester course, which means that we had to condense basically 3 semesters worth of practicals and information, basically 3 rather intimidating white books produced by the anatomy department. That we had to kind of condense that into 2 semesters and really memorize that by heart. So it was a pretty daunting task. But when I was able to chunk it down and break it down and study ahead of time prior to lectures, go to every single lecture that was available, do extracurricular studying as well, and taking full advantage of my free time, I was actually able to really enjoy the first year. And so even though anatomy was tough, there were other courses that I had to study for as well. But those really created a really good foundation for my studies in medicine. And actually, up until now, I'm very grateful for having the medical language course. I'm very grateful for the biology class here and there. Those genetics type topics show up in the later years, and really, I think that as a whole, it was a very good first step to medical school.
So, despite all this study load, you enjoyed your first year.
Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah, I was working out. That's what I like to do with my free time. And while I was working out, I was revising anatomy and really thinking about the origin, the insertion, the innervation, the function of the muscles. And actually, that was a really good way to revise the locomotor system for me. And it was a really immersive experience. And once I learned more about the human body through not only anatomy but other courses as well, I was able to apply that to my training, which I do just for fun. But it was a really nice and very useful for me personally, really useful experience to have anatomy and other courses.
Well, that sounds like a pretty nice studying tip.
Yeah.
And of all these courses you mentioned and you went through, which was your favorite?
Oh man, well,
let's say in the first year, and then in all the 5 years you have experienced so far?
That's a really hard question because there's been a lot of courses that I really enjoy, only a few that I absolutely hate, which I won't mention. But but yeah, in the first year, let's see. In the first year, I got to give it up to
just a little hint.
Sure.
The head of anatomy department is sitting
yeah.
right in front of us. So.
well, that actually doesn't make a difference. I really enjoyed anatomy, and you can ask my friends. Just how engaged I was with anatomy. It's a shame that in the later years we don't get to revise anatomy in the depth that it was provided to us in the first year. So although some of that information has unfortunately left my memory, I believe it is somewhere laying dormant, just waiting for me to find it again when I need to. And because we studied anatomy so thoroughly in that first year, when I have to study, I don't know, when I look at my own free time, the procedures of various surgeries and kind of orient myself in what am I talking about here when I'm looking at a pathology situation or something like that, I can really orient myself much better because I have such a good basis in anatomy. I think a much more in-depth basis in anatomy than most medical schools. So I can look at a CT and I'm already pretty much immediately oriented in which cross-section of the abdomen I am, as far as like the level there. Overall, it's been I would have to give it up to anatomy. Anatomy in the first year, and in general, that's a hard question. Well, while I think about that, what was your favorite topic? What was your favorite subject?
Well, actually you're right. That is not quite an easy question.
Yeah, see?
So. Well, it's more like saying which topic is the most interesting is better, since I enjoyed the same topics in several subjects, which was always the blood and the nervous system.
Oh, interesting.
And oncology in general. So, so like that, if I had to pick one, I really liked immunology.
Wow.
That was really interesting for me. And pathology. I think those are actually the two theoretical ones, and pharmacology to a degree. And from the clinical years, definitely oncology and hematology. So
nice.
Yeah, which is the specialty I'm going to do hopefully for my whole life. So
yeah.
And with that, what is your desired specialty?
So I have a few avenues I'm considering right now. I really thought I had a good impression of gynecology when we had the block in gynecology. Unfortunately, only one semester since the second semester was during the pandemic. And my first impression was it seems like a nice department. It seems like a really nice career path to go down because there is surgery. There is that internal medicine type of aspect to it. You can even go really like urogynecology. That's like that's super specialized. Seems like a pretty chill job. So yeah, it has so many options that seems like a good place to go. But also going back to my roots, I always liked the locomotor system, and even till this day, I'm always thinking about the way that muscles work, which exercises would be best, what would happen if I changed the trajectory of one of my limbs and all that stuff. So I think it would be almost a shame to not implement that knowledge or that mindset into something, and so for that reason, I also really like orthopedics.
Well, our dean will be definitely pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
Him being an orthopedic surgeon himself. Well, maybe we could join him in his team eventually.
That would be pretty cool, yeah.
Okay, so that's about it. So, shall we get back to the anatomy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is anatomy for you now?
What is anatomy for me now? So for me now, it's kind of like it was always a blessing in disguise. So there were times where I really didn't enjoy studying so much for it, but it really has paid off. And being so thorough in a subject like that has really allowed me to be consistent with my orientation and with my knowledge in other subjects. And I think nowadays it's taken a turn. There's been some changes in the faculty. So although what I can recommend for studying, I don't think is anything too specific. I would say in general, I would recommend really studying as much as possible, as early as possible, or maybe not as much as possible, but I would definitely say as effective as possible and as early as possible. However, the time schedule might be different, so I would really leave that up to the experts.
Yeah, so let's take the teacher's opinion on this here. What would you recommend for the students who attend the first year and start the anatomy course?
So as Michael said, so I think it's important to start as soon as possible and study as effective as possible. So I would just use his words. Just for us, as a teachers, it's really important to see that the students are first interested in the subject, and I think that when there is a student who enter the faculty and he or she is just decided to be a doctor, it's necessary to take it seriously. Yeah, so to start and be prepared that at least 3 first years there wouldn't be any parties, any fun with your mates and so on. And just what I think from my point of view is that students, when they have troubles with their studies, mainly in the anatomy, is that they start very late with the studying, and in the first week of the semester or the first semester, it's really necessary to know what to study, from which textbooks, which atlases to use. What is also just always interesting to me is that we discuss at least 1 month with students if they would use Latin or English nomenclature, and this is first thing they are focused on. Just in general, I would say that it doesn't matter if students use Latin or English. So this question for discussion for 1 month. If they buy, let's say, the Latin nomenclature Sobota or English nomenclature Sobota, is for nothing. So students should buy, just the anatomy atlas and use the English nomenclature if possible. Of course, we teach the anatomy in English nomenclature, and we use also the Latin nomenclature. It always depends where they go then after the studies, but in general, the anatomy in English is in general. So again, just as the answer to your question, what is from my point of view, again, just start when you are accepted for studies in here. Start immediately with studying. Have a look just which textbooks you should use, and it's not about, let's say, only having parties first month after acceptance to the or after entrance exams to the faculty and first month of the semester. So it's just about hard work and hard studying.
And even if the students skip the parties and start soon enough, what is the biggest issue for them, from your point of view, in anatomy? With which topic do they struggle the most?
It's hard to say which topic is the most problematic. I think the hardest is to organize the time, from my point of view, because just there are many courses, as Michael said, in the first year. It's not just only the anatomy, but it's other subjects which you should also be prepared for. So it's organization. From my just own experience, I remember that the first year I had just very precise schedule, almost for every day, for almost every hour. I knew what I will do, of course, during the week and during the weekends. In general, I'm just always saying to all students that during the normal just days, in the working days, it's necessary to study at least 4 or 5 hours after all the courses. And just from my experience, I studied in weekends always at least 12 or 14 hours. Just no fun, only studying. And this is just important. Unfortunately, we have just our, let's say, traditional Czech movie which is called Básnici. Maybe good thing for just some lessons from Czech for our students. And it's about just studying the anatomy, the second the second part of this I think pentology, tetralogy or something.
I think it's a pentology.
Yeah, pentology. So it's just only about the students are always just surprised that when we say, okay, so you have to know at least 3,500 structures, you have to know where they are localized, and you have to know their function, you have to know what they are doing. And they just sit and say, okay, wow, it's not possible, they cannot do it. It cannot be just like this. So maybe we can study 5% and it should be fine. And then maybe sometimes they do such thing, and then they are surprised that they fail examinations.
Yeah. In my experience, the way that the exams work here, being oral exams, I would say that they're almost one step up in difficulty compared to like a traditional exam, which would be done in a written fashion, typically multiple choice. So that's almost never an option in this university, and if it is, it's like I would almost compare it to like a first barrier, just to kind of make sure that the students that are completely disoriented in the information don't go to the oral exam. And typically there's like a 2-step process or a 3-step process, with oral exams happening at the end of that, being the kind of like the pinnacle of proving a student's complete immersion in the topic and being able to articulate their vast knowledge. So I know for me, I was always studying from multiple books, but I tried to keep it simple. I was using books from the anatomy department, the 3 books that were provided at the time, at least. Maybe there's more now, I don't know. And then on top of that, I also used this green book called Memorex. Now, which literature would you recommend for first years trying to study now?
So official literature is the Gray's Anatomy for Students as a textbook. Of course, we have also, just as you mentioned, the textbooks that are prepared from our department, namely the locomotor system. We have also the handbook of the organs, and now we have also the central nervous system, and the new textbook that I think that you didn't use is the peripheral nervous system. So in general, we have just, let's say for all chapters, we have our own textbooks. And let's say just the general textbook where you can find all the things just in, let's say, in only in just one book is the Gray's Anatomy for Students. Plus now just also I can maybe move to just another topic is the COVID situation, because just that also completely changed the organization of the anatomy course. And I'm just really glad to and very happy that our department was able to just do and prepare all the online courses, and we have now just complete e-learning. So basically we have prepared also the demonstrations, the demonstration videos where we show all the structures on the cadaver, on all the specimens. So just compared to the situation before COVID, is that just on the seminar, the student, they only, let's say, saw the structures for only one time, but now it's possible to just have a look many times, just as the students wish, and they can also repeat everything again and again. Plus we have now the online and the online presentation, the lectures, completely commented lectures with let's say just all illustrations, which is also very good. And also I have good feedback from students that it helped to them a lot. Now I just can say also that the results of this year's students surprisingly is just much better than previous year, which I think is because of these online courses. Also, just to maybe announce another changes that happens in the anatomy, is that we start teaching the anatomy in simulation center that will be opened in just next year. Let's say in October, I mean just the academic year. And there we have 15 hours of the virtual autopsy, which will be focused mainly on the anatomy or the regional anatomy in the imaging methods. So as you said, that the anatomy for you was just very good for to recognize all the structures on the CTs and MRIs and so on. And this is the knowledge that I would like to also just, let's say, improve. And I think that, of course, there will not be only surgeons from our students, but they will be general doctors, and each of them should be able to recognize the structures on the imaging methods, on the X-ray, CT, MRI, the angiographies, and so on. So this will be just one of the very special courses that will be brand new from next semester. Plus now we have from next semester 1 hour more per week for lectures and for seminars. So now we'll have in total 45 hours in first semester of the lectures, and plus also seminars, the 45 hours, and the same in the second semester. So there will be more anatomy. This is also good. And just also maybe I can just comment your opinion on the examinations. Now, of course, the anatomy is oral, and I would like to continue in this way. But what I am just preparing right now is just some motivational tests during both semesters that will be USMLE based, so which I think will be also useful for all students, because it's good to, and our faculty also support the USMLE tests. And if the student will be successful in 3 tests that we plan to write, we will give the examination from the anatomy just without needing to come to the oral examination. So they will have a grade directly after these tests. But maybe will be harder, because just we plan that this test will be so-called cumulative. First test will be from the locomotor system, second from the locomotor system plus the organs, the third will be locomotor, organs, and the neuroanatomy.
So basically everything.
Basically everything. But I think just I also know from my experience, because this just type of the testing was when I studied just used in the pathology, and I really like it. It was just pretty nice, because the best students, let's say, they had then more time for preparing for another examinations, and it was much better. So hope that, in case the students will be successful, they will have just anatomy, without coming for the oral examination. If they wouldn't be successful in this test, it doesn't matter, because I think it's the motivation. So this test will push them to study more and study continuously and all the time, and then maybe the results on the oral examination in the oral examination will be much better.
You have already mentioned that the results this year are better than usual. So what does it mean exactly? How many students do pass on the first try?
Yeah, so previous years we had just the successfulty around 35% for the first examination term. At this time we have around 52 at this time. So there is just, I think this is some significant improvement.
For sure.
But of course we are now after half of the examination period, and always just from just our experience as a teachers is that always in the first half there are coming better students, let's say maybe more prepared for the examination. So maybe this is the reason. We'll see what will be the final percentage.
And what are you like as an examinator yourself? Are students afraid of you, or do they wish to be examined by you?
I don't know. Hard to say. Just I think that I'm very unfair examiner. I think that there is just no student who could say that I gave to her or him just, let's say, some unfair grade or failed the examination and they didn't know why they failed the examination. Always also I'm just saying that we are not, let's say, just some guys or bad guys who are just only, giving Fs for the examinations, but, the major aim of our department and all teachers, and I believe that it's not only in our department, is that we would like to have just good students. We would like to have students who are good in the anatomy and will be prepared for another subjects, because just personally, when I'm just deciding between E and F, just pass or not pass in the student, I'm always asking myself, okay, so do you would like to go to meet this doctor after he's graduated or she's graduated? Would you like to send your family to him or her? So this is always just the question I'm asking myself. And when I, of course, answer that yes, okay, so then they pass. If not, of course, no. So this is just a very important issue, I think, because at the Faculty of Medicine, it's not just about studying for grades or just, to have, to be heroes that, okay, so you pass the examination. I think it's just necessary to have the knowledges, because the final result or final thing will be that each graduated student will then treat patients. And then, there is just no way to have, let's say, some pocket atlas or anatomy atlas or anything when they will be doing the surgery and they don't know what is the artery and what is just bleeding right now. There will be no time. And this is the reason why we are maybe so tough in the examination.
Are there any tips that you would recommend for the examination itself? Like, I know that myself included, I was kind of unaware of the etiquette that goes into taking oral exams, at least initially. I was fortunate enough that some of my colleagues warned me to, dress nice with the suit and tie, and to articulate well and to explain on a more deeper level what exactly I'm trying to answer as far as questions. So what would you recommend?
I think just it's necessary, of course, to be, to come, let's say, well suited. Of course, not just, in the shorts and I don't know, maybe old T-shirt. This is one thing. But of course, this is just, only showing, let's say, that the student is just, take the examination seriously. This is just maybe information for me as the examiner. Of course, another thing is just how the student present the knowledges. This is also very important because just the anatomy is of course the descriptive subject, and the knowledge is just about knowing what is the structure localized in such part of the body and so on. But also it's important to be able to explain the anatomy, because just let's say the oral examination, from my point of view, is very good because we are also just assessing the way how the student is describing, how he's communicating with examiner, and this will be of course maybe the same with the patient. And the most important thing is to be prepared for the examination. Of course, you could be just well suited, present well, be actor maybe. But if you just have nothing in your mind about the anatomy, okay, so then just maybe good to meet the student, but then that's the end of the examination.
Well, and now I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Mike earlier. What was anatomy in the first year in med school like for you?
For me, just my view on the anatomy was maybe a little bit different because my father is the cardiosurgeon, and in his studies he also just assisted in the Department of Anatomy, and he always just said that it was very nice time for him. He enjoyed it a lot. And when I started my studies, just this was the first wish I had. Also, I met the student assistants in the seminars, and I always just saying, okay, so this is the thing I would like to also do after my examination. So it was just good motivation for me to pass the examination well, which just happened. And also another thing, what was just the anatomy for me was that, as I just discussed the movie, Básnici, maybe, every just single person in here in the Czech Republic, let's say, just imagine the anatomy as the medicine. Yeah, so to me, okay, so the anatomy, when you pass anatomy, so just you finish almost finish the studies, and there will be no problem to pass other examinations, but it was, of course, incorrect thing. So just, I saw some prestige in this subject.
Yeah, and you mentioned you were a student teacher, a student assistant at the department in your time, and now I know that now that you are head of the department, you keep a lot of student assistants there as well. What do you think is their role in the teaching, in the lessons? Are they important?
Yeah, very important, and we are, of course, just we always appreciate the help from students. They are doing this work in their free times, and they are very important mainly just, because they are, let's say, in between the teacher and the student. They have good knowledges from the anatomy, but they have still the position as a student, which is also very good. And also maybe because of the number of the students we are teaching in every single seminar, it's necessary to have some help, and it's very good always that students, they are helping us. Good thing is also that, of course, these assistants, they do not forget the anatomy, and just also I remember just from my experience when we had the internship in the orthopedics in the children's hospital. One assistant asked just many questions from the anatomy, and I answered all of them, of course, just compared to my friends. And he said that, okay, so this is just very unusual. Only the explanation would be that you repeated many times the examination from the anatomy, or you are the student assistant. So maybe this is just good, point of view that the student assistant who are helping us with the teaching of the anatomy, they have they revise the anatomy all the time, and they have very good knowledges. And when they are graduated, usually they are surgeons, and we also just we are enjoying the collaboration with them.
Do you have the experience, as you mentioned, the teacher asked you, that people who repeat the exam several times have better knowledge in the end than those who pass it on the first try?
I don't think so. Just maybe the thing is that when you pass the examination for the first attempt and you have, let's say, E or D or something, it says that, okay, so you just have some amount of the knowledge that is sufficient to pass for the first time, okay? But, just from maybe also experience from today's examination, I examined a student who was just doing his fourth attempt from the anatomy, and just from the previous attempts, of course, I saw that he didn't know just some basic questions, and now he knew almost everything I asked. Yeah, so just every single structure I asked him, he knew. And I asked him then, okay, what was the reason you failed the examination? And before, of course. And he said that he didn't take it seriously. And this was just only maybe the reason. So, when you just repeat any examination, I would say, for the first time when you fail, okay, so you are just saying, okay, so maybe it was not sufficient, I will study more and more. and this is a motivation. So.
Yeah, and I think this is an important message. Failing the first attempt or the second isn't the end of the world and isn't the end of the school. So, have you ever repeated any exam, Mike?
You know, I had a really flawless record for a very long time, and then I repeated the exam with the reputation for being the easiest exam for medical students, and I repeated it a record-breaking 4 times. On the third attempt, I passed, and the examiner, it was stomatology. And, you know, there's like a saying, you know, it's like how short of a time can you study for stomatology? Typically, I've had friends that claim, who knows how real this is, but they claim that they've studied it, I don't know, over the weekend, and then they had it on Monday.
I have actually studied 4 hours for that.
Oh, man, that's crazy. I think overall I spent, I don't know, weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And that's more time than I did on oncology. In oncology, I had 6 days. I'm not joking. I had 6 days for oncology, and I got an A+, standing ovation. It was great. Stomatology, I had 4 weeks. What is the difference? And it's exactly like Dr. Joukal said. It goes down to what what's the motivation? How serious are you taking it? I never took it serious because of people like yourself that are just so gifted at stomatology. They can do it in
I'm not
4
gifted.
hours.
I know nothing about the teeth.
Well, I think now, because I spent so much time, I'm pretty oriented in the topic, and also a big issue was presentation as well. I went the first time, I was well dressed. The second time, I thought I had it in the bag, so I went there, you know, dressed. Plaid shirt, jeans. So that also didn't go off well.
Never a good idea.
Never a good idea, yeah. Unless you really know the topic, which apparently I didn't. So overall, it took a really long time, and it was excruciating because I never took it seriously. And then the last time, I took it so seriously, I was even quoting the stomatology book. I could probably even refer to which page it was that I was talking about. So that's what it takes to pass a tough exam that you don't take seriously, is you just have to take it seriously.
Well, maybe you could ask the study department to award you a dentistry degree as well, since you probably know more about it than most people now.
Yeah, surprisingly a lot. And what was your toughest exam?
Oh, the toughest.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I never repeated any exam.
Oh, congrats.
So, yeah, thanks. So it was actually. I think there's always a part of luck in this. Like you can be good, but sometimes just things go south, you know. Mm-hmm. And the toughest, I think, the toughest was microbiology, because the exam itself was pretty chill, and they weren't like bad, or the examiners weren't bad or anything, but the topic, man, it was like there were 80 questions about bacteria, and each one had the same structure. It was what it's called, how it looks like, how it is colored, what disease it causes, how it is treated, and 80 questions were totally the same. So I had these blocks of information, and I had no idea to which bacteria they belong to.
Oh yeah.
So it was really, really difficult in this. And I think it's the worst exam in med school, actually. And I can tell now that I'm already done.
Yeah, well, congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. So, and a lot of people I talk about with this, I talk with about this, they agree with me that microbiology is the biggest, biggest fear.
I think for most of my friends, anatomy was actually the toughest exam, because it was the first exam that you had to prove that you had the work ethic and that you were willing to put in the time and effort, and it wasn't something that you could cram. It was something that really you need to have consistency to do. So that was the biggest one for me. The toughest exam. Microbiology was definitely up there. I think stomatology still takes the win.
I think it's just bad luck in this case. Like
it was
maybe
also
the
that.
examiner was in a bad mood or something.
I don't know when I'm doing that consistently bad. It is. You could make the argument that it is a subjective way of examining, but with the oral exams. But overall, I think that the examiners, for the most part, in Maastricht University, and I think. I would say always try to be as objective as possible.
That's my experience as well. And more importantly, they are not trying to fail you.
Yeah, that's
So sometimes I don't know. People say he was trying to fail me so bad, and then you were, for example, present and at the exam, and you were listening to him, and he was talking total bullshit. And I was wondering more like, why hasn't he failed him already? Like, what is he still doing there? And still, the examinators have the patience, and like for even an hour, they try to find what the student knows, and after this excruciating hour, when they find nothing, and that is when you fail.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it's maybe I don't know. Isn't it more merciful to fail you immediately if they can tell you know nothing? Like, maybe we could ask Dr. Joukal here. Like, when you see the student is hopeless, do you fail him right at the moment, or are you trying to save him?
Just always depends on the attempt. Yeah. So when you have the student on the first attempt and you see that he or she knows nothing about the locomotor system, which is just the first part of the examination, okay, so there is just no need to continue with the examination. Of course, then just when you continue, just when you meet the student for the second or third time, you are trying to, of course, more or less try to find something in his or her mind, just from the anatomy. So it depends. Just, sometimes I examine only 2 minutes, and sometimes it's just more than 1.5 hours, which just also sometimes happen. So it's hard, yeah. So I totally agree that just, we are not trying to fail the students just for nothing. We are always, trying to find something in just his or her knowledges. But as I said, the anatomy is descriptive subject, and the knowledge of the anatomy is very basic for the further subjects. For the this is the basic for almost all the specialties. Just you meet the anatomy in internal medicine or surgery. Of course, in hemato-oncology, maybe still you will make the sternal puncture or the puncture of the bone marrow from the iliac crest. So still for this you need something from the anatomy. So in each specialty you meet the anatomy, and that's the reason that you have to know it. And when there are no, just let's say, knowledges of the basics, okay, so we cannot allow to pass a student the examination.
Well, now, Mike, you mentioned that many of your friends mentioned the anatomy as the worst exam they have experienced, or the worst studying.
Yeah.
And now I would like the opinion of both of you. Why is it that people fear anatomy so much?
Well, I know with my friends that they kind of had this feeling that everything kind of came crashing down on them at once. It seemed kind of like this, they bit off more than they could chew, kind of a saying. Like it just seemed too much to process. Things weren't sticking. They weren't. They didn't feel like what they were doing was good enough, and that was discouraging. And then if you're discouraged, you don't really study well. And then you're exhausted, because it is tough to finish, I don't know, a few hours, like at least half a day of schoolwork in the university. And then after that, you have to go and study at home, right? So if you're that exhausted from school because you're getting discouraged by your classmates who know stuff better or whatever, and you're not feeling confident, then this kind of just creates this spiral of just this circulus viciosus, right? Where you go to school, you feel worse about studying, so then you go to study, but then you feel so bad that you don't know anything that you study even worse, and then you procrastinate because that kind of gives you like a better feeling about yourself to hang out with your friends and whatever. And so it was kind of like this lack of discipline was the first problem, and then the second problem was loss of hope, right? There's always hope that, even if you don't know anything, don't be discouraged. Just keep revising, and given enough time and enough attempts, even those who didn't initially have that work ethic, they get scared into being disciplined enough into to really passing, and many of my friends that didn't do well initially with anatomy, once they realized what it took to pass an exam like that, a really big exam like that, now they're actually much more engaged than some of the other students, just because they had to earn it that much more. It was it's a whole learning process. That's what I really like about the first year. You really learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah, and doctor?
So I think it's the first very hard examination, and as Michael said, it's just about also discipline, maybe motivation, and it's not easy from my point of view for students in English program when they are coming from different countries to be let's say settle down very soon in different country, maybe also just different things, all the things in here, just it's also the university, maybe also this is very hard for them, and when the anatomy is just the first subject they meet, and they are not let's say well settled, then there could be the troubles. And it's just easily the amount of knowledge we want students to know. As I said, it's around 4,000 structures, 4,000 things they have to know. So it's easy. So when you are not able to, and also just to, choose what is important and what is not important. This, I would say, is let's say, a key for all the studies in just the faculty. So when you know what is the basic and you are able to take it from the text, and then see what is the detail knowledge and is not needed, then you have no troubles to pass. And in the anatomy, always just I'm at the when I'm in the first line, let's say, just to explain to students what to do, how to study, is that just tell them, okay, so you have to start always from general, then go to details. And this is a key.
Well, from my point of view, both answers sound actually hopeful. So it's gonna be tough in the beginning, but with the right approach, it's doable. And sure. I think on this positive note, we can end this interview. Thank you both for coming. It's been a great time discussing this topic with you, and maybe sometimes next time.
Yeah, I hope so. I also really enjoyed it. It was a nice experience. It was nice to get to know you on a more personal level, and yeah, I thought this whole process was pretty cool. I got to get some motivation as well. So thank you.
I also just enjoyed this time. Yeah, so to talk with Michael and again with Jakub, and also it's good to just maybe say something before students are coming in here. Just only maybe last sentence, so don't be afraid of the anatomy. We will, of course, try to do our best to help you with the studies, and I think and I hope that you will enjoy all the studies. So thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Have a nice day.